In 9 out of the last 11 presidential elections, we saw an increase in the housing market. In 2008's presidential election, however, well, you already know that presidential elections can have a massive impact on the housing market. And as an investor, the policies of this next presidential election could either open huge opportunities or they could present some challenges. So we're going to talk about these two candidates. With 2024's presidential election right around the corner, we've all been wondering how this election will shape real estate investing strategies for all of us. I'm Christian Weatherspoon with Real Estate Investing Made Easy, and unless you're brand new to real estate or you haven't actively been paying attention, the housing market right now is currently facing some serious challenges. Affordability, supply shortages, but also homes sitting on the market, and rising interest rates, which have all obviously affected affordability, supply, and days on market. That's the interest rates. So it's really no surprise that buyers are hesitant, inventory is tight, and securing financing is pretty much harder than it's ever been in a long time. These problems aren't going to go anywhere on their own, but the next president's policies could influence how we operate in this space. So most investors are feeling this with deal flow and buyers' expectations and sellers' expectations of a value for their property. But stick around to the end though, because I'll share with you exactly what we've been doing about it that's been a huge blessing for our business to keep it going strong through all of it. So jumping right in, what we want to understand today is the impact of each candidate's stated policies or assumed policies in the case of one candidate. And this, just to be clear, isn't about who to vote for. It's about what to prepare for depending on who's elected. Let's just start with the candidate whose name at some point might cause this video to get flagged or demonetized, and that is, of course, Donald Trump. Now, Trump has always championed deregulation and tax incentives as a way to stimulate the housing market. And if elected again, we could expect him to push more relaxed zoning laws and fewer restrictions on development. And the impact of this, of course, is that it could open up new opportunities for investors like us who are looking to either build ground up or rehab existing properties in areas that were previously off limits. On top of that, Trump is likely to expand tax deductions for mortgage interest and reduce federal oversight in the mortgage industry, which could encourage banks to lend more freely. This might drive up home ownership rates, especially among middle and upper income buyers. Now, critics argue that Trump's policies could exacerbate affordability issues by focusing on development incentives and corporate-friendly tax reforms. These policies, they say, could increase home prices, benefiting only investors but leaving many renters and lower-income buyers behind. But let's be real, as an investor, if you don't have a buyer pool that can afford your finished rehab product, or you don't have a property that you can find a renter for that's able to afford it, these policies won't actually be helping investors at all. So, with that said, Trump's policies might help with access to new properties, but they could also make it harder to find good deals for newer or part-time real estate investors in a really competitive market, with a lot of newer investors jumping in and beginning to wholesale or even rehab. Which, of course, this is where we come in at Real Estate Investing Made Easy, where we share what's working today from data to deal. Now let's look at Harris, okay? What does she bring to the table? Harris, she's had a different vision for housing, focused more on affordability and government intervention. So she's proposed building millions of new housing units and expanding the down payment assistance program for first-time home buyers. For us as investors, this could mean, if it does get pushed through, more competition for home buyers, but also more opportunities in affordable housing markets in particular. Now, Harris is also expected to crack down on corporate landlords and speculative property purchases, which could impact those of us building really big rental portfolios. Although in some ways, depending on the volume of business that you're actually doing, it might momentarily be beneficial. Now, her administration will likely push for stronger tenant protections as opposed to landlord protections, and fair housing enforcement, which might also reduce profit margins for landlords, but increase the demand for affordable rentals. So there is kind of a push and pull there ostensibly. Now, while these policies could create hurdles for larger real estate investors, they might help stabilize the rental market in the long run, especially in areas hit hard by affordability crises. Now, critics of Harris approach the argument that increasing government intervention in the housing market could slow down development and place too much regulatory burden on the investors and developers in the area, so they'll be driven out and go to more favorable places. Possibly. Some believe also that focusing too much on affordable housing could discourage private investment, making it harder to get any deal done in an area where the margins really are already too thin, and many of those areas already exist, as we addressed in the beginning. So what's the bottom line? If Trump wins, we can expect more investor-friendly of an environment with fewer restrictions and more development incentives, but keep in mind that this could also create a lot more competition for you as an investor, especially if you're new, pushing up prices higher and limiting the volume that you can do of deals on a monthly basis. On the other hand, if Harris wins, her policies could create affordable housing, but investors like us might face increased regulations and higher costs, which personally I'm not a huge fan of paying more and cutting through more red tape. Either way, the next few years will bring significant changes to the housing market, as we've seen already, in some unprecedented ways as well. I'm curious what you think the results will be of this either way, whichever candidate wins. Regardless, whether you lean towards Trump's regulation or deregulation, I should say, or Harris's affordability focus, knowing what to expect is going to help you navigate the markets and seize the opportunities that pop up when they do in the coming years, especially as you tune into real estate investing made easy right here. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the market's been super tough, especially on wholesalers, as most of the people who are just getting started, they start in wholesaling. And I mentioned a shift that we've made in our business that's allowed us to not just weather the storm, but thrive in changing climates from market to market, because we know that real estate is local. So as we see the national market changing, there are different changes taking place to varying degrees and scale in other markets. So the secret sauce, if you will, is novations. And even if you already know what a novation is, you don't know it like this. So be sure to tune in live to our upcoming novations training, which I'll link in the description below and pop in the pinned comment. Or if you're seeing this video after the fact, then what I need you to do right now is click right here so you can see this recession-proof strategy and how it can create a business that thrives without you needing to be on the grind all the time. And if you found this video valuable, please hit that like button and keep hanging out with us right here in the next video, where we're going to make real estate investing easy.